All right, guys, today we're going to talk about changing decimals and percents into, decimals into percents and percents into decimals. This is called working with something we like to call rational numbers, which we'll talk about more tomorrow. So when we're talking about, we're going to do two things here today. We're going to change decimals into percents, and we're also going to convert or change percents into decimals. So I'm going to start off with one, and then I'm going to show you the second. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to put your name and date on it. All right, and the first thing you need to know is that the word percent can be broken down to mean per 100. So that means for every group of 100, this amount of things is true. So like if you got 86% on a test, that means for every 100 questions, you got 86 of them correct. Today, we're going to start off with the decimals into percents. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to write the decimal as a fraction with the denominator of 1. So we're going to kind of treat the decimal like a whole number, even though we know it's technically not. It's actually a mixed number. Then what we're going to do is we're going to try to find, this should be the word and, not and, an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 100. So far, these are all things that should sound pretty simple because we've learned them before. Your new fraction will be a fraction that is literally the percent. So nothing should sound terribly hard. This last sentence might sound a little confusing, but I'm going to show you why it's true. So pretty much, we're going to have a decimal, like we have here, 792 thousandths. We're going to put that decimal as a fraction, and we want our denominator to be 1. So I'm actually just going to draw 1 underneath of this since I have space here. All right, once I do that, I'm going to make an equivalent fraction with the denominator of 100. So I'm just going to write over here equals something over 100. So I need to know first, how do I get from 1 to 100? You multiply by 100. Very good. So if I multiply my bottom by 100, I have to multiply my top or my numerator by 100. A lot of you guys are already going, okay, so I know if I'm multiplying by 100, I'm going to get a bigger number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my decimal 2 places because I have 2 zeros. Oops. 1, 2. So I should end up with 79.2 over 100. Some of you are probably like, I don't know how to do that. Well, if you don't, it's not a big deal. Take 5-6 seconds out of your day, come over, and write this as a traditional multiplication problem to solve. It won't take you that long because it's all 1s and 0s on the bottom. 0 times 2 is 0. 0 times 9 is 0. 0 times 7 is 0. You move over a place, so you add a placeholder. 0 times 2 is 0. 0 times 9 is 0. 0 times 7 is 0. You move over 2 places this time, so you add 2 placeholders. And then you have 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 9 is 9. 1 times 7 is 7. When I add it together, I get 79200. I have 3 numbers after the decimal, 0 numbers after the decimal, so I have to move my decimal Beyonce style 3 places. 1, 2, 3, and I ended up with 79.2. All right, now that I have my decimal over 100, I'm pretty much done. And let me tell you why. Because this sign right here is a division sign, which can also mean per. And we know that 100 is that cent or that Latin root that we have. So this literally says 79.2 per 100, which is another way of saying 79.2 per cent, because per cent and per 100 mean the same thing. So once I have a number over 100, that's automatically going to be my percentage. I'm going to box it up because it's like a present for me. That's how you're going to do these top 3. Today, I'm actually going to not even have you pause. I'm going to jump right in to turning percents into decimals, even though you're probably already going to be able to figure this out if I just had you do it. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to write the percent as a fraction, and the numerator will be 100. Let me show you why. So here we have 51 over 100. Remember, over here I said that this stood for per, and this stood for 100. And we know per 100 means percent. This one says 51 per 100. And I know per 100 means percent. So this means the exact same thing. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide the numerator by 100. So basically I'm going to solve this like a division problem. I'm going to do 51 divided by 100. Again, a lot of you guys already probably know your division rules for decimals when you're dividing by powers of 10, and that you're just going to move that decimal point. But let me show you. My number's getting smaller because I'm dividing. So I would move my decimal point 2 spaces to the left. 1, 2. So I should end up with 0.51. Let's do the problem outright and see if we end up with the same thing. 100 can't go into 5. It can't go into 51. So I need to add my decimal point here and put my 0 here. Can 100 go into 510? Yes, it can. It goes in 5 times. This is stuff we've learned this year. Hopefully you're remembering it, because we can't just forget things, because math builds on itself and we're constantly going to be using the skills we've already had. So 5 times 100 equals 500. When I subtract, I get 10. I don't want to have a remainder, so what am I going to do? Add another 0. Bring down my 0. 100 goes into 100 one time. 1 times 100. With subtract, I get 0. But don't forget to pop that decimal point up where it belongs. So I should end up with 0.51. And I'm going to go ahead and rewrite my answer over here so that I can put it in a nice little box. All right. 3 of each type of problem. You should be able to do this, guys. It's really, really, really not terribly difficult. It just takes some practice and getting used to. I'll see you tomorrow.